A US bomber put on a show of force over the Korean peninsula. The B52 flew through the skies south of the demilitarized zone 4 days after North Korea detonated a massive explosion it says was a hydrogen bomb. Will Ripley joins us from Pyongyang. He is the only reporter from a US broadcast in North Korea. But first we want to turn to Paula Hancocks. She joins us from Seoul. Paula, just talk to us about this flyover. How powerful is a B-52 bomber, and what is the US hoping to achieve with this show of force?
Well, Lynda, the message really couldn't be clearer from the United States. You have a B-52 bomber which can carry both conventional and nuclear weaponry, which is flanked by US and South Korean fighter jets doing a flyby over just south of the border here in South Korea. So it couldn't be a clearer message. They are showing that they are standing side by side. The US Pacific Command has said that it is, quote, a demonstration of the ironclad US commitment for our allies in South Korea, in Japan, and to the defence of the American homeland. Now, the timing, of course, is interesting. I must mention that this has happened once before, or twice before, back in March 2013, after the third nuclear test by North Korea. But that time it took the US about a month before it brought these B-52 bombers in, and then it said it was just part of the ongoing defensive military drills it had with South Korea. This time, it took just 4 days since that nuclear test, and the US is being very clear that it is in response to that nuclear test. Lynda?
Yeah, certainly a much faster response this time. Paula, just stand by. I want to bring in Will Ripley for the reaction out of North Korea. Will, is it likely that anyone in the North Korean regime will actually sit up and take notice of this flyover?
Absolutely, Lynda. While we don't have an official reaction from here in Pyongyang, you can bet that the military officials here in North Korea are certainly very aware that this has occurred. And U.S. bombers coming close to North Korean territory is extremely infuriating for many of the military higher-ups here, because it brings back memories of the Korean War when American bombers brought destruction onto the capital city where I am, Pyongyang. They have designed this city. Essentially, there's a giant underground bunker system. The Pyongyang Metro is a subway line, but it's also 360 feet underground, one of the deepest metros in the entire world, because it doubles as a bomb shelter. And people here receive weekly education about history, and the Korean War so prominently plays into how this country's military policies are to this day. It's really the threat from the United States, or the perceived threat of an invasion from the United States and its allies, is how North Korea continues to justify to its people spending a tremendous amount of its resources developing its military, including nuclear weapons and missile technology.
Will, do you think this latest flyover by the US and South Korea will escalate the tensions we've already seen in that region?
Well, if you think about what happened last time, and you remember Paula mentioned that there were B-52s in March, and then there were B-2 stealth bombers flown later on in the month of March. So two actions from the United States that really upped the game. In response, North Korea put out statements saying things like they were burning with hatred. They put missiles on standby to launch to U.S. bases in South Korea, in the Pacific, and they even aimed their long-range missiles towards the U.S. homeland before the situation did eventually de-escalate. Obviously, the United States doesn't want to provoke North Korea to the point where they would actually fire a missile, and the North Korean regime doesn't want that to happen either, because when you look at the weaponry from both sides, North Korea can't compete with the United States armed forces, and that's what these flyovers are intended to do, is to send a message to the North. But the nuclear test earlier this week on Wednesday was also intended to send a message to the world that North Korea is ready to defend itself, and if their national sovereignty is compromised, they say they will stop at nothing to protect themselves.
Okay, and Will, just stand by. Just back to Paula. Paula, China, of course, is a key trading partner and ally of North Korea. The US is hoping that China will use its influence on the North. What can we expect from China?
Well, Lynda, we've seen in recent days China almost on a defensive footing. A lot of people around the world have said, well, if they wanted to, China could fix the problem. So China's foreign ministry spokeswoman has actually had to come out and say that China doesn't hold the key to solving this issue, saying that the origins of the issue don't lie in China. They lie elsewhere. And the fact is, with Kim Jong-un's father, the late Kim Jong-il, maybe a case could have been made to say that China held the key to solving the nuclear issue. There was a much closer relationship between the then president in China and Kim Jong-il. He visited the country. It was a much more amicable relationship. But it has suffered significantly since Kim Jong-un took power. And remember, this time around, according to official reports, China wasn't warned about this nuclear test. It was warned the previous 3 times, as was Russia and the US a couple of the times. But China was not warned. Nobody was warned. So it is an embarrassment to Beijing. It is a slap in the face, and it would anger the administration there. So to say that China can really wield a tremendous amount of power with North Korea would be inaccurate. It does have some power, though, because of course it is the strongest ally and it is the largest trading partner. Linda?
That clearly shows that China's relationship with North Korea has deteriorated. Paula Newton in Seoul and Will Ripley in Pyongyang, we appreciate your time today. Thanks so much.